want to put my Mott mower on here. This tractor's kind of useless with the planter on it, and I just put it on for show. I've got the fast hitch planter, so this one's, you know, it's cool, but it makes the tractor virtually useless. There's not a lot of clearance underneath with the sword on it, and so the tractor's just not getting used much. So I'll put the mower on, and then I can, you know, use the trailer and stuff. So before I get the mower on, I gotta take all this junk off. Didn't really take that long to take it off. It's actually a lot quicker to take things off than put them on because you don't have to adjust anything. You just taking it off. And so everything's here on the pallet. We're gonna store it underneath the barn with the rest of the Cub stuff. And the touched up, wherever it was, paint was scuffed. And everything looks good. I left all the bolts on the tractor. And so now we're gonna put on the flail mower. The hardest part about putting the flail mower on, in my mind, is Armstronging it into position. So it's mostly here. I just got to fine tune the positioning once I get the rest of it put on. I gotta get this pulley off and pull out these two bolts, slide the drawbar over because the mount here needs to connect here, and then the pulleys hook here and here. So I got to pull this eye out that you use for the 189 plows. One of the biggest problems people have with old tractors and mechanics in general is they don't have a decent set of mechanics tools. I loosened it up with a combination wrench, and then I've got this universal here. I'll just take that right out. Just do the same with the other side. So we got this off. It's all good to wipe down. Put some of this on the shaft here. One of the problems that people do with these things is they find that it doesn't go on easily, so they start pounding on it. And if you start pounding on your power takeoff, you end up messing up where it connects in there, and then you've got yourself a real problem because you have to take the whole not the transmission, but you got to take the top cover off, pull this all out, and then it's kind of a real pain to fix it. So the next thing we're going to do, we slid the drawbar over. I'm going to take the belt tensioner and the frame. It actually does double duty as the belt tensioner and the frame. So what it does is when you push this lever, it'll tighten the belt up, and so it shoves the whole unit forward in order to tighten the belt. So we're going to set that on here right now. Belt's going to go on here, it'll run underneath. We're going to do a figure 8 on the belt when I put it in, because you got to remember the Cub power takeoff spins the wrong way. So in order to make the flails turn forward, I'm going to have to reverse the way the belt comes. So we'll put a figure 8 in the belt, and it'll come through here and over this. So we'll get to that in a second, but first we'll finish tightening up these bolts right here. So these implement bolts are 1 inch, and when you start getting into that kind of gauge steel. I usually go with my 1/2 inch drive socket set, 3/8. It'll do it, but you don't really get the leverage. You can get the extension, but really 1/2 inch drive once you start getting into 1 inch bolts. And I've got the 3/4 inch drive when you get bigger than 1 inch. But I find 1/2 inch is a pretty good size to get in everything that you need to get into. So this right here is what's going to pick up the chain. This will lift my mower. Hooks on to the boomerang here, and then it hooks in here, and I've got 1/4 inch bolts on here to hold it. There's pitones on it that go in the pre-drilled holes on the boomerang and here in the bell housing, and then you can still put a couple bolts. So we got 2 1/4 inch bolts here, 1 inch implement bolt here, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to hook this drag link on. And when you do that, you actually have to hook this on first. So you kind of have to look at it and go, okay, that's how it goes. And then, so you know, at this point, this is where you're going to have to do all your fine tuning on your mower to get it where it's supposed to be. And as you can see, I got to come out a little bit. So drag it out just a little bit. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, and on these bolts, I always put a little bit of never sees on them so that they will come out when I'm ready to take them out. It's going to go about right there. I need to start the tractor up and put the lift down on it. So like I've said, the way you tighten this up is you pull this lever back as hard as you can and tighten these up at the same time. So you might want to get a helper. I was able to do it myself. I use my right hand because I'm right-handed, and I just pulled back and then tighten this up. What that does is that forces the mower forward, thus putting tension on your belt here. So we've got a good amount of tension on it. We'll go take it for a ride. We've got all our bolts secured. I took my eye bolt for my plows, put them here and here, and then I won't lose them. We've got everything secured here. The chain lift is hooked up, so that's how we pick it up and put it down. Let's take it for a ride. The cool thing about these mowers is you can put a deflector shield on it, like a 2x6 or something, and just hang it down. And then you can reverse the belt so it's actually going forward, and then it'll take your leaves and stuff in the fall and jam them up into the top and shred them. So we'll just give this a little try here on the lawn. We'll take it up and just tighten everything down again, and you can use this as a finish mower. A lot of people do. I just found wanted to do roadside and along the edges of the field where I don't really want to go with the sickle mower because I'm not really sure what's in there, and you can't reach it with the bush hog. And it gives me something to do with my Cub besides go in the shop and look at it. So I do believe Mott made a couple different models of this, and without getting out a measuring tape, I can't tell you if it's a 48 or a 54. I do know there was a different attaching point on some of them. It had a arm that came out further and lifted it. This one right here is the one I've seen the most of, where it's a single piece unit. It just hooks on on here on the boomerang like I've showed you, and then rotates. And the biggest complaint I've ever seen about these mowers is the bearings going, so keep those good and greased on each end. Right down here. Hopefully this has been marginally entertaining for you, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or otherwise, shoot me a comment down on the bottom, and I appreciate you watching. If you haven't had an opportunity yet, please take a moment and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.